distinguished members of Parliament, Commissioner Viviane Reding, Maria da Graça Carvalho, dear friends and colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, we are living through one of the most challenging periods of human history, faced with a meltdown of the world's financial systems on one hand, and on the prospect of the irreversible global climate change on the other. Last year, the biggest speculative financial bubble in history finally burst, and this year we will all experience the consequences. Consequences that include unemployment for millions of people and a dramatic slowdown in investment, with the US interest rates close to zero and the Bank of England's rates at their lowest in the bank's 315 years history. There is also a real risk of deflation and little further room for maneuver at the policy level. In a world where new financial business models have proved themselves totally inadequate to the needs of the real world, business as usual is simply not an option. At such dramatic times, climate change may suddenly seem a less pressing issue. But climate change is also happening right now and poses far greater long-term threats than the current financial crisis itself. We've had a cold couple of months recently, and last year was relatively cool compared to what we have become used to, but 2008 was still the 10th hottest year on record, and the past decade was the hottest on record, with global temperatures higher by an average of 0.2 degrees than the previous hottest decade, which was the 1990s. Climate change presents us with incredible challenges, including food and water security, with new forecasts suggesting that half the world's population could face climate-induced food crisis this century. Inevitably, most of those people will be the ones who are least equipped to deal with such challenges, the people of the developing world. So for climate change, as for financial crisis, business is also very much not as usual. Distinguished colleagues, this makes this conference a unique and important one. Fortunately, in this dangerous and frightening new world, ICTs can play an important and indeed vital role. They will help us, as Paradiso, the organizer of this event, has said, to proactively promote a new concept of progress based on revised social, environmental, and economic objectives, a true sustainable development, more sustainable economic growth, more equally shared resources, and eventually the well-being of peoples around the world. I take this opportunity to congratulate Paradiso for a very good organization. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm a true optimist. I firmly believe in the power of ICTs to make the world a better place, and most especially during these challenging times. ICTs are the great enabler of modern society, helping people communicate across distance and across cultural divides, facilitating trade and providing access to vital resources, especially in health and education. In under 2 decades, ICTs have totally transformed not just the way we work and play, but the whole way we communicate, access information, manage health, and produce wealth. They are at the very heart of all societies worldwide today, both in the developed and developing world. ICTs are ubiquitous. Indeed, the number of mobile cellular subscribers globally has just passed the 4 billion mark in December 2008. And well over 1.5 billion people now have access to the internet. So ICTs is now a significant sector in its own right, typically accounting for around 5% of global GDP, an even higher proportion of GDP growth. in addition to its important facilitating role in many other sectors. I should say in all other sectors. ICTs therefore have a key role to play in sustainability. Dear friends, in the current financial crisis, ICTs can help governments and industry alike weather the economic storm by reducing costs, boosting efficiency, and increasing productivity. And while economic crises come and go, the basic human need to communicate will continue. Also, we should not forget that technological transformation is at the very heart of our industry. So while the crisis will inevitably be very tough indeed for many ICT businesses, I believe it will also revitalize the industry and enable new entrants with new technologies to thrive. It will trigger innovation, and we need innovation to get out of the crisis. It also makes sense to adopt green IT, even when times are hard, the upfront investment, even with a relatively short return on investment of just 2 or 3 years, might seem hard to justify in today's economic climate. But look at the global climate and climate change and remember that our whole future is at stake. We need to invest in infrastructure, in green infrastructure. Green IT helps businesses cut both immediate and medium-term running costs through energy-efficient technology, server virtualization, and reduced travel expenses, for example. And cost efficiency is a critical factor in determining which players survive in a tough economic recession.